Well, welcome everybody. This is the second live demo that we have done for the Next War series. We're going to be using the Taiwan game once more for this particular demo. What we're looking at doing tonight, first demo we went through movement extensively. There's so many different forms that movement can take in the standard as well as the advanced game, and so we covered those at length in the first demo. Tonight we're going to focus on combat, so we're not going to take as long tonight, but we're going to focus on ground combat. And I've already got the scenario set up. This is the first scenario in the game. It's the invasion on the southern side of the island, Kaohsiung. What we're going to do here is we're going to pick things up in the first movement phase. The PRC has the initiative, and so this is going to be an initiative-based turn, which is going to give everybody multiple movement and combat opportunities. I've gone ahead and done most of the movement that I wanted to do prior to the demo's beginning. We have the CHICOM SAG Surface Action Group has moved offshore near Tainan, and you'll see that there's 4 amphibious PRC ships out in the Taiwan Straits that are fully loaded and looking to land, but they won't be able to land in the first movement phase. They'll have to wait until the exploit move to make their landings. What I've left behind is I have left in the PRC holding box a couple Marine battalions. And the reason I did that is if you'll look at the movement ratings of those 2 Marine battalions, you see that they are yellow movement rating units, so we can use our helicopters to bring them ashore. I think a priority for the PRC is to get as many guys on the ground as quickly as possible, because you can't believe how fast the Taiwanese can counter your moves. So I think it's imperative that they get a lot of boots on the ground, and so that's how we're going to run things here. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to take the carrier battle group from the PRC holding box. It'll move to the sea zone, and then it'll move into the inshore box, and then from there it can move to a all-sea hex. And we'll go ahead and park him here, right here in hex 1710. Because it's in the zone of influence of that mine marker in hex 1810, we're going to have to do a contested move die roll. So if you look at the tables in the vassal module, it's the green button with the white cross in the middle. Up on your toolbar, you click that open and use the MISC tables tab. We'll roll a single die, and we roll a 2. That should be good. 2. It's going to be modified by -1 because it is a carrier, and it's going to go up +1 because of the mine marker. The 2 are going to cancel each other out, and for the standard game, that's really all that's all we're going to need to do there. So we could use our cruise missiles for this, but this was not a mission critical move. I just thought it might be helpful to support the paratroopers that I'm planning to bring in. So that's a successful sea move. So let's move on to the next thing we want to do, and that is to go ahead and bring in our airborne. So we're going to drop the whole division right here. Tried to do this last time, couldn't make our die rolls. We're going to try to bring them in here. The idea is to shore up the right flank of the prospective beachhead. Probably shouldn't have brought that CV in, but yeah, it might come back to bite us later, but we'll see. I'm anticipating that not all of these amphibious guys are going to actually make it ashore. They might get turned back by bad die rolls, so I'd rather have the support on hand. So here we go. First thing we're going to have to do with these guys is face their air defense fire. And if you use the little button on the toolbar that's way on the far right, or maybe in a second row if your screen is not a wide screen, it's the one that has binoculars on it. If you click that, it'll just hide the pieces from your vantage point so you can see the underlying map. And you'll notice that we're dropping these guys within 2 spaces of air bases, so there's going to be a modifier to apply to the air defense roll. Going back to the charts, the air defense artillery, that's going to be on the second tab, ADA/airpoints. And the flying side right now has air superiority. So a modified 0 or less is going to turn these guys back. This is an important move, so I think it would be a good idea to go ahead and spend 1 air point to modify this. So -1 air point to give us a +1 modifier. I could use up to 2, but I want to hold on to those air points for now. Okay. All right, so next thing we're going to do is look at the rest of the modifiers here. It's going to be +1 for the escort point that we're using, and then there's going to be -2 because we're within 2 hexes of enemy airfield or installation or naval unit. We're not next to an enemy armor or mech unit. I think that's it. So just a net -1 to our die roll. So let's go ahead and make that. 4 comes down to a 3. Okay, we make it safely. We get past the air defense fire. Now we go back to, let's see, is it the MISC? Yeah, MISC tables tab to find the paradrop table. And I think we roll for each of these brigades that are coming down. It's 1 air defense roll for the whole group coming into that hex, but then it's going to be 1 roll for each of the brigades. They're landing in flat terrain. And it's in a ZOC. Nope, it's not in a ZOC because the brigade in hex 1812 does not have 2 stacking points. So there's no modifier. It's just going to be straight up roll. We try to avoid 9s. So from top to bottom, we'll go boom, 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 1, 9. So the middle guys, they're going to take a hit here. So let's flip them over. Reduce. Okay. All in all, that was, I would call that a success, getting those guys on the ground in a good place. Okay, so that was our paradrop. Now let's do some air mobile movement. If we open up the general records track, it's the button on the far left of your toolbar, or towards the far left, it's got the eye and the green circle. Click that to open it up, and we're going to reduce our air mobile points by 1 to move one of these guys. Actually, I think it's just 1 because it's yeah, they're both half stacking points, so I think it's just 1 air mobile point to move both those guys. Is that correct, Mitchell? Alrighty, yes indeedy, here we go. We're going to take these guys individually, and now they're coming from the PRC holding box, so they're going to spend 8 movement points to enter the west map edge, which happens to also be the top of the map from your vantage point. So that's 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. We're well within range. That's probably not the ideal flying route, but we're going to try to put these guys down out here. The reason why I want to put these guys out here is to interdict this southern highway, because in just a moment, the Kaohsiung Marines that are located in hex 1513 are going to be able to make a limited move, and I want to knock that highway out of play. I don't want them slipping around and getting over into the Tainan area. So we're going to go ahead and bring those guys in, and looking at the map, that is within 2 hexes of an air base, couple air bases. So maybe we want to rethink that. Maybe it might be better to park them here. We could put them up here, or even here. Let's see. Yeah, I think, you know what? Let's see. Yeah. Yep, I think that's a better spot, not putting them on the road. If we were to put them in here, we could do it because there's a road there. We couldn't park them here because there's no road in the Highlands territory, Highlands terrain. So let's put them in hex 2013. Air defense table, not going to go ahead and use any of my air points. So roll comes in at a 2. Oh crap! You're right. No ZOC. So we would still have to put them here. So, all right. Well, a 2. If we park them, I have to be here then to block the road. Yeah. Yeah. It's half a stacking. You need 2 stacking points to get a ZOC, and I keep forgetting that. It's really easy to forget that. Okay, so here we go. Parking them here would work okay. And then we rolled a 2, so they're going to be safe. Looking at the table here, the ADA table you'll see that they need a 0. So now if we had been within 2 hexes of an airbase, that would have been unfortunate. So here comes the next one. Putting them down. They're definitely safe. So, all right, these guys are good, and they're light infantry, so that gives them really good mobility over the rugged terrain. So their idea is just being a blocking force for now. All right, now that's all the movement we can do, so we go into combat. We have 1 combat opportunity right now, and I think that it... Oh, okay, Mitchell clarifies, because they land in the same hex, you only need to roll once for ADF. I keep rolling multiple times for that for some reason. Thanks for the clarification. I'm making it too hard on myself. Okay, so the guys up there on the coast, they have an attack opportunity against the 117th of the 8th Brigade. The terrain is a town. That might be a good attack to make. Kind of push out from the beachhead a little bit. So I think we'll go ahead and make that attack. If nothing else, then we can just begin to show the combat mechanics. So let's go ahead and look at our charts. There's a number of steps to combat. Now, before I begin, Mitch, I have a question. I keep forgetting to ask this. With combat, do you need to pre-declare all combat, or do you need to declare before you roll a combat, and then as you start the procedure, you're committed? I wasn't quite clear on that.
Yeah, Joel, it's the latter. You can declare combats as you go, but once you declare, you need to finish the combat.
Okay, excellent. So I tend to mentally do the former. It just kind of helps me organize how we're going to do things. But there's a number of steps to combat, and so let's go ahead and walk through them. If you have your rule book, it's going to be on the very back cover of the standard rule book, the standard and advanced rules, the series rules, if you will, on page 40. So the first thing you do is you declare your attack intention. So we're going to attack the 117th of the 8th with our paratroopers. The initial odds are going to be computed here. We've got, hang on a second, I'm having trouble with my stacking. All right, we got 2, 4, 5 to 2 defense strengths. Remember that on the counters, your leftmost is attack. The bottom center number is your defense. Bottom right is movement. So we have a total of 2, 4, 5 to 2. So in that's going to round down to 2 to 1 initial odds. If you go ahead and open up the charts again and go over to, it might not be on there. I'm trying to find where the combat tables are. Hang on a second here, because there's some markers that you use on that, so I don't know if it's in this. Okay, there's no CRT in the module. Okay. If you have the physical game, I'm going to try to describe this to you because it's useful. When I play the game under plexiglass, I actually put the CRT under the plexiglass as well because you tend to move counters over the top of it. Now, if I can actually find my CRT, that would be gorgeous. Give me a second here. For some reason, I'm having trouble locating it. Oh, for Pete's sake. Okay, give me just a second, guys. I think it's actually in my game box. So give me just a minute. Okay, here we go. The CRT is on the very back of the card that's got the advanced air-sea battle scenario. So what we're going to look at here is it's your standard combat results table. And then there's a DRM track over to the right, which you're going to use to move a counter on to keep track of the die roll modifiers, because there's a ton of them. All right, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the terrain where the battle takes place. And this is going to be in flat terrain. I'll just move the counter out of the way so you can see Hex 1812 is flat terrain. There is a town in there, the tan circle, but that's a terrain feature and it's not the base terrain. So all you got to look at is the main color of the hex, really. So this is going to be flat terrain, so we're going to use the topmost row. Next thing we're going to look at is we actually have 2 to 1 odds. We missed 3 to 1 by 1 point. So we're going to look at column number 9. If you have a CRT handy, it's column number 9. And that's where we're going to start things. So the initial odds have now been calculated. Next thing we're going to do is determine the column shifts. So if you look at the CRT, there's a number of shifts that can take place in the standard game, and then there's a couple more that can affect the advanced game. In the standard game, the first thing you're going to look at is the efficiency of your units. I'm going to clear movement so you can read the counters better. You'll notice that the airborne units, they all have the same efficiency rating except for the guy that took the step loss in the landing. His efficiency went down to 5. The other guys have an efficiency rating of 6, which is just about as good as it gets. There's a few 7s and 8s in the game. So the 1/17 has a 5. You subtract the lesser from the greater, and you shift the combat odds in favor of the player that has the highest efficiency rating, equal to the difference between the two. Make a long sentence short, basically we're going to take the 6 minus 5. It's going to give the PRC 1 shift in their favor, so it's going to go from 2 to 1 to 3 to 1 because of efficiency. If you're attacking into a city or fortification, I don't think there's fortifications in Taiwan, but there's a truckload of them in the North Korea game. We're not attacking into a city hex. City hex would be like hex 1711, so forth. And yeah, Barry, you're going to use your highest, both sides are going to use their highest efficiency rating for this. There really isn't an advantage to not using, well, yeah, it's player's choice, but I fail to see an advantage unless it's an obvious lose situation. You don't want to lose your best guy, but in most cases, you're going to use your best guy. So we're looking at now 3 to 1 odds after the efficiency rating shift. We're not going into a city or fortification. Surprise is in effect on turn 1 per the scenario. We're getting a 1 column shift, so that's going to move up to column 11 to 4 to 1 odds. So the column shifts are just hugely important in the game. We're not making an amphibious assault, and this is not exploitation combat, so that is it. We're going to be on column 11, row 1 of the CRT. So that's where we're at. Good column to be on. Now, Kevin mentions the first losses must come from the whose ER was used. That's correct. So you might want to preserve them. Yeah, but in this game, at least in the games I played, the combat situations are so desperate that there's rarely a case where you say, oh, let's let these guys live. Usually it's you throw your best face forward in this game. So here we go. I think the only time, guys, I've not used my best is when I had Force Recon boys that were in a combat situation that wasn't absolutely mission critical, and I didn't want to throw them away. They're those efficiency rating 8 guys. But often enough, that ER rating, I mean, just having that 1 ER rating is equivalent to, the total combat strength of the guys you're facing. So that could be a big deal. All right, so now we got to look at die roll modifiers. Well, let's do helicopters first. Both sides now are going to be able to allocate attack helicopters, air points, and naval units to combat support missions. So we're going to do that. The attacker goes first, then the defender does it, and there's 80 air defense fire that happens after everything's been committed. So what we're going to do is we're going to say that we'll use the, I think they're in range, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Well, maybe not. I was thinking the Zai-10s were in range, but I don't think they are. Yeah, they're all those Chicom helicopters up there really don't have they're just short range to get to the battle zone, so they're not going to be able to help us out. It's one of the downsides to the invasion area around Kaohsiung. If you go along the north coast, like near Taichung or closer over to Taipei, they can reach, looks like 1 or 2 hexes inland from there. So no Chinese helicopters from the PRC, but we will throw in some air points. We'll throw in, let's say we'll throw in 2 air points. You can throw in up to 4 air points and a maximum of 2 helicopters for the attacker. The defender can use a maximum of 1 helicopter and up to 2 air points. Your total support for air, naval, helicopters, all of that is a +6. So we're going to go ahead and throw in 2 air points. We'll go and mark that on the table here. Air points go down to 9. Okay, and then the other China is going to go ahead and use their helicopter here. I can't seem to remember how you do this. Missions. There we go. All right, we're going to throw them in there for 1 mission. And they're obviously in range. You don't move the helicopter in the physical game. You just rotate it 90 degrees. In Vassal, I just told it was attacking. I think that's all I need to do. And then we resolve the air defense fire. So for the air points that came in, we're going to look at the table, the MISC tables, excuse me, the ADA column on the tables. We have air superiority. So once again, a 0 is what's going to hurt us, and there is a -2 modifier for being within range of an airbase. So here comes the roll. Rolls a 0. Lovely. So 0 is going to go down to -1. So basically, if you look at the table, it says abort. That doesn't have any effect on combat support. The -1 in parentheses means that only one of the 2 airport points actually does anything. So Chi-Coms get just +1 there. So I'll just put that on the... One of theirs got through. Okay, so now we do the helicopter. Now that's going to be a little bit different. They got a tougher row to hoe here. They're not going around anybody that's mechanized, so there's not going to be any modifiers for that. Oh wait, the carrier is within 2 hexes, so the carrier will apply. That's a naval unit, so there's a -2 to them. So this is probably going to hurt a little bit. And they're going to use the column where it says the firing side has air superiority. So it's the other side of the table. And they throw a 3, which becomes a 1. That is a star, abort, and a -2. All right, now the abort, once again, that doesn't do anything, but the star means that 1 air or air mobile point is permanently lost, and transporter unit takes a step loss, or attack helo takes a step loss. So, going back over here, hang on a second. Going back over to this helicopter, we're going to go ahead and mark him as reduced. And he did a support mission. Okay, so he's good. And the -2 means that none of his 2 attack factors is going to apply. So there was a lot of missiles flying around there, and that didn't work well for them. All right, so that's it for the air defense fire. Now we go to the die roll modifiers, back to our ground combat situation. Again, this is Hex 1812 where this is taking place. Between them and the paratroopers. All right, we have on the DRMs, we are attacking from a North Korean tunnel. No, we're in Taiwan. Are we attacking from 5 or 6 hexes? No. There's something to be said about surrounding guys in this game. That's a cool thing. Attacking from 3 or 4 hexes? Nope. Attacking from just 1 hex. So there's not going to be a modifier for that. Light infantry attacking in non-flat, not woods terrain. Nope, that's flat terrain, so that doesn't help us. -1 for a remainder in the initial odds calculation. It's the only game I've ever seen that does this. It's kind of cool. You round the combat odds down in favor of the defender, but when you do that, there is a -1 die roll modifier, so it's not a total loss for the attacker in this case. So we're going to get a -1 for that, for the remainder. Let's see, is there light infantry defending? No, that's not even light infantry. Is the defender in an installation, airbase, port, chemical, or nuclear installation? No. Airfield or town? Yes, it is in a town, one of those circular symbols. So there's a +1 that's going to cancel out the -1 we just found. All right, as a defender in his own DMZ, that's only North Korea. +1 per additional formation. This is the penalty that applies if you're attacking with multiple formations. Right here we just have the 43rd. Also, I should point out that the units whose NATO symbol is in white don't belong to any formation. They attach to whatever formation you want them to attach to. So if we had them thrown into the attack, there would not be a penalty. But if we had boys from the 43rd Airborne attacking in conjunction, say, with the 1st Marine Division that's still up there in the PRC holding box, that would be a penalty. All right, combined attacks by different national units. If you attack with U.S. and ROC units, there's a penalty for that, or Japanese and U.S. and whatnot. Yeah, so there's no more modifiers here. The only modifier that's actually getting through is the -1 from the PRC air unit that made it through. So we're going to roll one die, -1. Rough day for the Chinese. All right, so that was not what they wanted here at all. Probably should have thrown more air support in this. All right, so the result, a 9 comes down to an 8, which on the 11th column is a 1/1R. The red text there means, if I recall correctly, it means that if all of the defender units are wiped out, and there's hits remaining, the attacker can reduce his losses by 1. If I remember the rule correctly. There's a rule reference on the chart. And Mitchell says, I got that one right. All right. So in this case here, the attacker, the number to the left of the hash mark, we take 1 step loss. So one of these guys here gets reduced. All right, we'll put the strong guy on top. All right, and then the other guy, the defender, takes a step loss and then must retreat. Now, they can choose to try not to retreat, but to do that, you have to make a die roll against the troop quality, and if you fail, you take more step losses. It's not worth it here. So they're going to have to retreat. If you are in flat woods, rough woods, marsh, or rice paddy terrain, then whenever you get a retreat result, you have to retreat 2 hexes. So this guy's got to go backwards 2 hexes. So we'll just, I don't know, put him back into Kaohsiung, I guess. Throw him at the bottom of the stack. Okay, the attacker then, if I remember right, the attacker has to move at least 1 guy forward, and I think the whole point of this exercise was to get off the beach, so he'll move up here. Which may or may not be a good thing because we're moving out of the range of our carrier's guns. And it's unfortunate. If we had the SAG, I should also point out one more other thing. If the SAG had been situated here instead of up where it was, then it could have applied its another further -2 to that combat die roll. But unfortunately, it was not where it could help us out. I think I had him here. No, he was here. All right, something like that. Okay, so that's it for the first combat phase. Any questions on combat so far? Okay, no questions. We're going to move along to elite reaction. Units of the non-initiative side that have a experience rating of 6 or higher can then make a limited move here. So what we got here is, hang on a second here. Yeah, efficiency 6, 7, and 8 units, not in an EZOC, not in enemy zone of control, can move, but not attack. And so this guy up here, the Marines, they can start to try to threaten the beachhead. That was one of the reasons why we brought Marines up there into a blocking position, because had we not done that, moving along the primary road, that would only cost 1 movement point to get here, and yeah, they could just motor right on around. So what I'm going to do here, that's 1 movement point. 2, 3. That'll cost them up to 3 movement points to get there, and they will have to stop. It might actually be a better move instead to just take them, go 1, 2. Actually, that's considered, I believe, primary road there. So that's like 2/3 of a movement point, and then into here for 2 movement points because of the ZOC inflicted. But that at least puts them into a city in a place that threatens the beachhead. So That's it for the elite reaction move. That's the only Republic of China units that have that level of efficiency are the Marines of Kaohsiung and Taipei, and the guys that are on the island, but they can't ever leave the island, so they wouldn't be able to do anything here anyways. Okay, exploitation move. Exploitation move, basically the initiative player gets to do more movement. Any units not in an EZOC may move up to their full movement allowance. So the move by the Marines there, basically, nope, that doesn't quite pin them down. Doesn't quite pin the 43rd, but that was another good reason for attacking into Hex. Actually, I think they should have advanced. I can't remember if our guys advanced. No, they didn't. Forgot to move the stack. All right, let's back it up here, guys. I'm screwing up. The 43rd should have advanced out of Hex 1811 into 1812 after that combat. I forgot to do it. And then the Kaohsiung Marines, it would make more sense to park them here with the brigade that was already positioned there, because now they're inflicting a ZOC on the airborne, and that's going to pin the airborne and keep them from moving during this phase. Otherwise, they'd be able to move away and attack again in perhaps a more critical place. So the guys that were in our blocking position up here, now might be a good time to go ahead and move them now that they've finished their mission. They could move half, one half, two. I can move them in that city, but the problem is that triggers now a clearing action that they're not really well positioned to deal with. Let's see. One half, two. Oh, we can still do this. Let's do it this way. Half, one half, two. 2.5, 3, plus 1 for entering the ZOC. That's 4, and they stop there. All right, both those guys are going to do that. That's a better move. See, if you move into an installation like an airbase, a port, or a city like you see there in Hex 1910, you don't actually control that city. You actually will have to do a clearing operation at the end of the turn, and if you don't have enough stacking points in there, your chances of actually clearing the hex and taking control are greatly reduced, and the chances of taking casualties amongst those guys are enhanced. The ideal thing is, I think you want to have at least 2 stacking points before you start trying to clear a city. So that's why I wanted to avoid that. In the process, we did take command of a town there in Hex 2110, so we could put a movement marker down, or a control marker down. So let me find our control markers. There we are. All right, and that's worth 1 victory point. The victory points are on the table in the lower right-hand corner of the map. So getting a town is one victory point. So what we do is we look at the general record track, and we use the marker that shows that we got 1 VP this turn. You don't use the VP's marker. You use the VP's this turn marker, because at the start of the following turn, you're going to use the points that were racked up in the previous turn using this marker to determine who has the initiative or who doesn't have the initiative. All right, so we got 1 point out of that, and I can't remember. Yeah, we got 2 points out of that because Hex 2010 also has a town, and Hex 1812 has a town. So we actually got 3 points already this turn. There we go. The boys that are up here in the inshore box, they got to start making their landing here. So I got to decide which of these guys I should pull down first here. Let's go ahead and take this one. It's going to be a contested move into here. And let's see. Do we have any? I don't know if I have any cruise missile points here to play with. I don't see any. All right, so it's just going to be a straight up roll, -1 for the mines. Wanting to roll low, that's not good. Looking at the MISC tables, contested C move, the 8 becomes a 9. That is C movement aborted, and transport units incur a step loss. Lovely. This is why I'm not a PRC general. So they got to go back over here, and one of these guys takes a step loss. Oh, nice. That just kills them outright. All right, losing a battalion, I believe, gives the rocks a point. Let's see here. Looking at the table here, I'm almost certain it's just 1 point for PRCs taking a loss. Yep, battalion +1. All right. So going to the general record track, the point for this turn, the rocks get their first point. All right, that was awful. Let's try it again. So we don't want to roll an 8 or higher, really. 5 becomes a 6. What does that do? Almost. Almost. They get aborted. They get sent back. Oh, this is terrible. This is why I try to avoid the minefields. But the problem when I landed closer to Taipei is you really need a port as soon as possible. All right, trying it again. 7 becomes an 8. That's an abort. No step loss, I don't think. Hang on here. Oh, this is just going awful. We have one last shot at this, ladies and gentlemen. We need a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. One of those. There we go. 3 becomes a 4. We're safe. They land there. They arrive at the hex safely. They still got to land, mind you. All right, so that was hideous ugliness, man. That will be the end of our elite movement, or exploit movement, rather. So we now move on to exploit combat. Just like combat before. Now, the difference here, though, is during exploitation combat, there's a 2 columns to the left shift. But we really need to get these Marines on the ground. The question here is, do we want to try to land in hex 1909 and attack that? Because if that unit is not forced out of there, then the Marines go back onto the ships. I'm kind of inclined at this point not to risk it. If we could have gotten one more ship in there, if we would have gotten more than one ship into the area, I was hoping that only 2 ships were going to end up in the area. I was hoping that one of them could have ended up in 17-9 and then dump guys into hex, what is that? 1810, where the mine marker is. That's what I was hoping. In this case, I think it would be beneficial if we just cut our losses, and for our combat, we'll simply say we're attacking empty hex, which allows our guys to come ashore unmolested. And we will be able to then put down a marker, a beachhead marker, which I don't know where they are in the module. Anyone know where beachhead markers are? I would thought it would be with naval units, but it might be ground units.
No, Joel, it's on the game information display.
Aha, okay. Trying to... All right, where is it? I'm not seeing it. Oh, there he is. Okay. There we go. Let me show you a few things about this marker here before we wrap this demo up. The marker is just, it looks like a combat marker on the bottom. You have an attack rating of 0. It's got a defense strength of 2, so it's going to help defend that hex. Okay, it's engineers and stuff on the shore. It's got a 0 movement point rating. You can choose to remove it at any point to make it available again if you wanted to do a landing somewhere else later on in the game. The number up in the upper right-hand corner, trying to remember what that number in the upper right-hand corner is. Help me out here, Mitch. The number in the white circle and then the black one. I've been playing the advanced game.
Supply range.
That's right, and we're playing the standard game, so it's not going to do anything.
The upper right corner supply range.
That's right. Yeah, upper right-hand corner supply range, and that's for the advanced game, and then the number in the black. What's that about?
It's just a notation that it increases the stacking maximum.
Okay, I was seeing what threw me off, Mitch, is I could have sworn that in the physical game it said something else there, like +2 or something. Maybe I'm just wrong on that. At any
No,
rate,
+2 to the stacking. Yeah, it makes it 6 in that hex.
yes. Okay, I thought that's what it said in the physical game. All right, so what that's saying is you can basically throw more guys into this hex now that they're there. I was
Yeah. Although, and this is something we're going to have to that's actually the back of the marker. The front of the marker has a 4 in the upper right, and it doesn't look like we can flip it, so that's going to have to be fixed in the module.
Hey, there we are, solving problems as we move along. So the reason I landed there, this point, is because again the 2-column shift to the left. I didn't like that. Even with the land-based Marines attacking, it wasn't a good scene, man. So we went ahead and just took the safe route for now, and then that will end the exploit combat. The next phase is reaction move. Now the non-initiative player gets to move all of their guys, no restrictions. If you're in a ZOC, no big deal, you can move. But we have a moderately secure beachhead now. We might see, the rocks might make an aggressive move like ZOC to ZOC here, ZOC to ZOC here, try to attack either the beachhead or maybe attacking the inland Marines or something there, hoping to drive them back. If you're attacking the Marines, I probably wouldn't move out of the port. I'd probably just stay right there. If you're attacking the beachhead, that's the only reason I'd come out of there. I don't think there's guys with enough movement points to get into Taiwan, but I might be wrong. Let's see. It's 1 to there. 2, 3, 4. Oh, yeah, they can get in there. 4, 5. Yeah, they can send their motorized guys around to get back in there to cover Tainan. So you'll see that's where you would see some counterattacks begin, and then the ugliness just continues for the PRC. They're in a bad place, but once they get a port, mind you, then they can start shoving equipment in, and once their heavy equipment starts showing up, then things go south for the Taiwan army really, really fast. So it's really all about getting that first lodgment, taking your lumps there on the beaches in the opening battles, and then getting those reinforcements ashore. So lots of our amps didn't make it this time and took some losses, but they're going to get another crack at it because once reaction combat's done, then there's going to be a second movement and combat for the initiative player, and a second reaction move and reaction combat for the non-initiative player before you get to the end of the turn stuff. So that is the nuts and bolts of the standard game here. Like I said, if you weren't here for the first demo, we covered movement extensively. So this one, I really just want to take you through some combat, show you the different things that can happen in combat situations. One of the things the rock player might want to consider before they make their attacks is no matter who they decide to attack there in the vicinity of the beachhead, the SAG is going to be able to support the beachhead, first of all. You have the SAG, the amphibious, and the CV are all covering the beachhead. So I think their best attack would be to hit the inland Marines and try to kill them off. Because otherwise there's an awful lot of support getting poured into that beachhead. Or they could try attacking the airborne troops that are inland, try surrounding them and cutting them off. That was a fairly aggressive move on my part to attack out with them. That's one of the things you could see. The Chinese do have some air points. The Republic, has some air points. They have 4 air points to throw into things. But there's a good chance a lot of those aren't going to make it through just because of the air defense tables, and all the guys they're going to attack are within 2 hexes of a naval unit of some kind. So lots of things to consider there. That's really the nuts and bolts of the standard game, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the demo at this point. We'll hang around for a few minutes if you have any questions. But we thank you for coming out this time. The next demo I do on the system will take you into the advanced game and start showing you the advanced combat that takes place in the air. I'm thinking we might just use the advanced air-sea battle scenario for that to show the air combat end of things, because it's much more detailed in the advanced game. So thanks a lot, guys. Hope you have a great evening.